The situation in Avdiivka, Ukraine in the last 24 hours has developed from urgent to disaster. Russian forces have cut the main supply route to the city and the only paved road effectively encircling Ukrainian troops. Let's go ahead and jump into what is happening. Before we get started with that, I am going to turn on these assets. That way you guys can see where Ukraine's supply routes and infrastructure is. Previously, there were four routes leading into town. These two in the north that go into the factory can still be used for the factory. This one going through Lasto, going through Lasso. That route is no longer usable unless it's for this specific part of the front here, and this southern route is the only road leading into Avdiivka, and it is a dirt road, and it is muddy. Yesterday, we got information from both Ukrainian and Russian mapping sources that Russian troops attacking from the vehicle depot, which is in this region right here, had cut and secured the Industrial Prospect Road. Later, a video came out that showed a Ukrainian infantry fighting vehicle firing a machine gun from the southern edge of the industrial area down into this area marked on the map. Seeming to confirm that Russian troops are now in the area. So the video that was taken was somewhere in this area, and the view was down this way. So this Ukrainian machine gunner was firing in this direction from basically, this spot somewhere in this region here. And that seems to be pretty well geolocated. Since then, there's some mappers that are, unsure about this update, but we're going to proceed as if this is the case because either way, we're dealing with the same situation here. So I'm going to get into that. This dirt road that leads into the Citadel area in the south, it is open, but recent videos has shown that it is a muddy and treacherous path that is already swallowing up Ukrainian vehicles. And how old those videos are. We have seen videos of Ukrainian trucks, 4x4 trucks just buried in the mud. Whether those are recent or a little bit older, I assume that the situation is about the same regardless with that. It's, can't really imagine the muddy conditions have changed that much, especially if the road is already ruined. This road is well within firing range of Russian lines to the south and is sure to be coming under heavy fire already. It's tough to say if the road can be seen with, fired with direct fire from the Russian front, but certainly well within artillery and even mortar range. So, troops moving along this road are probably under constant bombardment. Moving forward, it will be important to confirm whether Russian troops are physically present in this particular area or if they just have fire control over this road. Either way, this road, which is, the only paved road, is unusable. But if Russian forces have positions in these tree lines here running along the road, they will be able to view and put fire on this dirt road to the south. So should this be true, then it really is effectively cut. Ukrainian forces moving along this path and through these fields will be under a crossfire, both basically direct fire and from Russian artillery. It is possible and actually likely that Ukrainian counterattacks are already underway, probably as we speak, to try and rescue this plot of land. But other information that came out yesterday indicates that Ukrainian counterattacks may be severely weakened. Reports and video confirm that a large Russian missile strike occurred in the sound of Selodove. I'm actually going to turn on all the roads here so we can see this is a huge logistical crossing. There's actually a rail connection going through town here in a rail depot. There's drone footage of this event. The Allegedly, Ukrainian reserves transferred to this location for the purpose of a counterattack were targeted by Russian Iskander missiles containing cluster warheads. I say allegedly because I'm not, can't be sure that's why those troops were there or how many troops were killed, but there certainly was a strike. There's pretty clear footage of it and pretty clear footage of the aftermath all over the back channels of the internet right now. Claims of casualties vary from not many to a lot, of course, just like always. But from the drone footage of the area, it appears like a large number of military trucks were destroyed. The footage seems to show burnt out deuce and a half trucks basically everywhere, scattered around as if they were trying to hide them within trees and stuff. And local information about the event, text messages and stuff from local Ukrainians were leaked online. Of course, it's tough to tell if those are true. Also, reports of hospitals in the area indicate that there was a large number of wounded from this assault. The overall effect of the strike, I can't say, but it certainly appears to have been the case that this is where Ukrainian reserves were being trained and trucked into. This is a great location to get into Avdiivka. And I think, it certainly appears that the Russians have removed some of Ukraine's response capabilities off the board. How much is tough to say. While I expect Ukrainian counterattacks to happen regardless of that strike, it appears like the battle for Avdiivka proper is lost at this point. Rumors from the front claim that the Ukrainian 107th and 110th Brigades have already completed or completely evacuated from the city, and Russian forces have not eased the pressure with fresh attacks in the north into the dachas around the coke plant. And I have these marked in yellow and white because these are a bit more speculative. I don't necessarily fully trust the source information on this, although it has been more accurate for me in the past compared to other sources. But the claim is Russians are attacking here. There are claims that there's firefights going on right now in this cemetery that's south of the lake, so potential Russian control or movement into this area right here. And then claims that the Russians have taken control over parts of this intersection in Lizny Street or Lizny Boulevard, so in this area in the south. So Russian pressure still remains on all these fronts, and Russian gains in the south as well into the direction of the old air defense base. So, let's see here. I do think that in terms of the reports of Ukrainian troops retreating, it is important for me to note that I'm not sure if those are troops that have moved out over the last 24 to 48 hours, or if those are Ukrainian brigades that have withdrawn from Avdiivka in the last week. In reference to the 107th and 110th, you have to expect that when the Russians started moving into town here, this has taken place over the course of 7 or 8 days, that at some point the Ukrainians knew that they were out of position and couldn't stop this thrust and started withdrawing some of their forces. It's very possible that those brigades completed their withdrawal before this road here collapsed. If that is the case, and Ukraine has retreated sizable formations from Avdiivka, then I expect a lot of these areas to fall pretty rapidly, probably before the end of the weekend. But it seems like we'll probably get some more updates later today. If we get big updates, I'll do another update tomorrow. Before I end the video, I want to take some quick looks at attacks in two other directions that are certainly drawing in Ukrainian resources. First, in the area near Bakhmut, the Russians are closing in on Ivanovka to the they're clearly preparing for an assault into the town. On the north side, Russia is working over top of the high ground, and it is, several hundred meters from establishing an overwatch position over the town. Just so you guys can see the terrain here, this is the Russian position. From a lot of this, they can already see big parts of the town, but their goal will be to, crest this hill here and probably take these areas right through here. And of course the tree line. Once they get this area, they'll have complete fire control over the town. And there's not a lot of, there's probably Ukrainian trenches in this area cresting the hill, but there's not a lot of tree lines and places for good cover for the Ukrainian side outside of this area here, which I guess, we can kind of adjust this and look at it. It's a bit under the crest of the hill, and it'll be difficult for Ukrainians to fire on the Russians if they take this hill from multiple different directions. In addition to that, the Russians are pushing down the road and have almost entered the town of Ivanovska, but have been stopped cold of capturing any real structures in the area. So, moving on to the other place where there's a significant amount of Russian pressure, we're looking at south of Donetsk City here, in the town of nicknamed Novomik. Uh, the uh, Initial reports that Ukraine had attacked and pushed Russian troops out of Novomik do not appear to hold up, or at least if that did actually happen, then the Russians have attacked again and moved back into town. Russian forces have reportedly recaptured both the cemetery and some of the warehouses on the southern edge of town. In addition, around 10 to 15% of the residential structures, maybe slightly less than that, are now reportedly under Russian control. If you remember in a previous update, I believe a couple days ago, maybe I can quickly bring that back in. Previous frontline reports, a large area here to the south of town fell under Russian control. This is all farmland, basically no structures. Seems largely inconsequential until you look and see what it's approaching. It's this 532 road that basically connects Vuhledar from the outside world. Of course, there's some other back roads that lead into the town, but should the Russians reach this road, this position will be severely weakened, and it is one of the stronger defensive, if not the strongest defensive position remaining, at least in importance for the Ukrainian front line. So, the Russians at a much slower pace have picked up that progress again and are trying to move towards that road. So that'll be something to watch in the future. All right. A final note on the overall situation. So, intelligence reports lately still seem to indicate a Russian buildup in the north. So that's the area of Kupiansk. My current assumption is that this will be the primary direction of Russian attack in the summer. But if Avdiivka falls before the end of the month, we could see major activity in this direction in the near future. A bit of potentially good news for Ukraine. The U.S. government is launching a major effort to force through emergency funding for Ukraine at the level of $60 billion. The bill passed the Senate with 70 votes and it now moves on to the House. Initially, this didn't even really seem like a talking point and that the bill would be dead on arrival, but it appears the full weight of political muscle of the United States, or at least as much as they can muster, is coming down on the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to bring the bill to the floor for a vote. So I can't, tell the future, but it seems a decent probability that he folds on the issue, and if the bill reaches the floor, it will pass. So, this likely would not change much for Ukraine for several months, but it could have some immediate effects for morale and potentially rapid delivery of certain smaller armaments, potentially more anti-tank stuff or drones. So, thank you guys for joining. That is all from me today. Until next time.